So, welcome. I am Kenny Rivera, also known as Kenny the Astrologer. I am a psychic astrologer, tarot reader, and witch. I like to use my psychic mediumship abilities as I'm also interpreting charts and reading cards. And really, I'm all about uplifting everyone and trying to be that positive light, and but also not in a toxic way, holding ourselves accountable for all that we do. And I'm super excited because Astro Magic has been something that I low key have been doing before I even knew it was a thing. When I started learning astrology, I would naturally use what I learned in my spell work and in my witchcraft and my practice. And so I am really excited to introduce to you with some beginner tips, just basic things to get to know the Pika tricks, get to know yourself and your magic and your practice, and also how to get started with actually using Astro Magic because it can be very daunting, especially because the Pika tricks is so long, it's so detailed, and like it says itself, it's meant for wise sages and magicians that just know what they're talking about. But if you're an astrologer, you are one of those wise sages, so you know what to do with the Pika tricks. So yeah, let's just get like into it. Just a quick little shameless promo. You can find me as Kenny the Astrologer, TikTok and IG, kennytheastrologer.com, or here as Astrologer Kenny. And yeah, let's get this going. So, the Pika tricks. So, this is a very ancient text that is basically just a book of magic and astrology. It was written during the Hellenistic era, and it really gets into details on how to create talismans, amulets, and elixirs, and it's just packed with information, literally packed. Like, you cannot just sit down and just read the Pikatrix like for fun. I mean, you could, but it's very dense and it's very an enjoyable read if you are somebody that just enjoys learning, that enjoys trying things out, and enjoys putting things into practice. Now, the Pikatrix is divided into four books. This is just because of how everything is divided, and also just to make it a bit easier for the student. And also, I learned for Amazon and like online files, it's split into two files because it's just so large, and it'd actually be more expensive, I guess, to produce a complete version. I don't really know. That was just a quick little fun fact I learned. But as I said, very much packed with information. So it's impossible for me to try to get through everything that the Picatrix mentions. So we're only going to be talking about some basic surface level things of astro magic. And this is basically just to help you get started, get you motivated to learn, get you interested in the book, and also to get you less stressed about getting into astromagic, because it can oftentimes astrology, there's so much to learn, there's so much, it's never ending rabbit hole, so it can be very daunting to get into new subjects. But we're going to make it easy for y'all. Okay, I got you. So before we even get into practicing magic, into practicing astro magic, we have to get some things just like out the way, in the sense of we need to be grounded. You need to have a stable practice going on already. You need to be able to handle the energies that are coming through and have a very fluid connection with the universe and the energies that are going on. If you don't even know what's going on right now, you're not going to realize what's happening or what's being affected by the magic you're doing. So before you even get into the Pika tricks, before you even split that thing open, you need to have a grounding spiritual practice in place, and you need to start identifying how you work through these energies. So, tracking the moon, tracking the planets, figuring out how different transits relate to you personally, seeing which house is being affected, and really putting all of the things that we learn and absorb into practice and into like solid foundations. Okay, another thing. really quick segue, understanding basic astrology, and not even just the basics, like really thoroughly understanding the signs, the planets, the houses, each of their rulerships, the ways that they work with each other, the aspects, the way that all these energies come into play, into a chart, and into magic, and into our practice. So, if you are still kind of wonky, still weird about signs, planets, houses, you feel like you can still learn some more, go learn some more. Astro Magic will still be here waiting for you. But when you're getting into this energy work, you have to really understand what's going on. And you have to be able to trust yourself, be able to just ground yourself when things are getting too chaotic, be able to identify when the magic is working or not, whether it's going haywire or not. And all of that is only possible if you are already stable, grounded, and have a solid foundation to start from. Another thing before you get into practicing astro magic, I highly recommend protective measures. Anything and everything to just help you stay protected energetically, physically, emotionally, all the leaves. Okay, so whether that's cleansing, smoking, like smoke cleansing, that's what I meant to say. Or you could smoke too to just cleanse your lungs real quick. There's also sage, we have selenite, other spiritual tools and crystals, maybe even getting a talisman already done by a qualified magician just to help ease your way into this magic. Because, yes, we love to believe that working with magic and getting into witchcraft is all butterflies and rainbows and sunshines and oh my god, I'm gonna find my perfect love of my life. I can't wait. Unfortunately, there's dark sides. Pandora opened the box, bitch. Like, unfortunately, there's some bad shit going on in the world. There are some negative energy and entities that we don't want to worry really working with. Or, for example, the malefic planets, Mars and Saturn, if they're acting a mess, we don't really want to work with that version of Mars and Saturn and have that with us in our magic. So, definitely anything that helps you feel more protective or anything that just literally protects you. You can't be raw dog in magic, okay? Condom, use protection, people. So now, actually getting into magic. Now, there is this huge debate within the muggle world of whether magic is a science, whether it's imaginary, and all of this other shit. Magic is a science. It is a practice. You need to learn, you need to study, you need to be understanding and really work through trial and error and hypothesis and thesis and all these things. Spells and talismans and embedding energy onto things isn't always going to work or isn't always going to be at the best time possible. So you have to be okay with that, be okay with failure, be okay with the spells not working, be okay with, depending on your perspective, wasting materials or resources because sometimes it's not going to work. Sometimes the planets are like, nope, I'm not going to help you. And we just have to deal with it because they are celestial bodies and we kind of are just we're living in their world, literally. So, magic is a science, it's a practice. You have to put in the time, sacrifice, and energy in order to get the right results back. So, if you're not ready to do all of that, maybe bounce out this talk real quick because this ain't for you. Um, but I'm so excited. I love magic. I love practicing, studying, learning. I have a ninth house, midheaven. So I love this is my shit. This is my jam. So getting into magic. Pica-Transit really highlights that magic is two parts, theoretical and practical. So theoretical, having a thorough knowledge of the planets, of astrology, of the fixed stars, of aspects, of decans, of everything that goes into a chart and into the influences in our world. You need to have knowledge on that, okay? You can't just be going, okay, Cancer, love, nurturing, I want to feel safe. Cancer moon, yes, let's do it. Like, no. You need to figure out what's going on in the chart. Where's Cancer in the house? How does it relate to your house? How does it relate to the other planets? What's going on in the world? Are there other planets in Cancer? A lot of things go into it, which is why some astrologers or just people who know and understand astrology understand that this is like a lifelong work. If you are an astrologer, you are in it for life, ride or die. So, definitely any chance that you can learn or brush up on astrology, use it, take advantage, and do it. Also, you need to have a knowledge on electional astrology because magic is very much a timed thing. You can't just one day wake up, I want to do a love spell, let's do a love spell. And then you actually ended up doing a love spell on Saturn when Saturn was in Aries, or, just like some made up shit that's coming up actually. Um, and it's just like a hot mess. You're just getting dates left and right. You're getting bored easily. You're not really sticking to things as thoroughly or really finding the one that you want. And it's because you did it under a fallen Saturn. Come on. You gotta really work. How is Venus doing? Venus is probably debilitated at that time and just or in a harsh aspect to Saturn. And you thought, yep, let's just do it. I'm just gonna do it. So definitely have knowledge of electional astrology. We'll get into the beginning, kind of like quick surface level of like these are the basics, but again, it's a practice. I highly recommend just electing random shit just to like really get into the practice of looking at a chart, and we'll get into how to look for a chart, but just start electing when to wake up, electing at what time to catch the bus, electing a time to eat dinner, like just trying to see how you can play with different energies. Maybe try a bad election for something not that serious, and see see how serious it gets when you do it. Um, and yeah, just absorbing knowledge. You have to be a student, a forever student. And now the practical parts of things is literally the practice. Saying prayers, speaking with spirit, having maybe an altar, just dedicating that time to learning about things, consistently studying what you're trying to do and how to get the best results. Just literally putting in the work. That is the practical side of magic. You have to put in the work. You can't just wake up and be like, I wish on a star. I wish it was like that. But you have to actually try to understand, trial and error, work with things, see what you have, because sometimes you have to swap out resources or just work with different um, tools, maybe, or different spaces. I mean, there's so many different things that go into it. But that's the beauty of magic and the beauty of witchcraft as well is that anybody can get into it. Anybody can really learn and try to figure out what works for them. And if you have a really good, strong understanding of astrology in your natal chart, it's just going to be even easier to figure out what practices or what spell work or what things are going to work the best for you or not the best for you. So now we're you studied, have a basic structure, understanding of astrology. You are an astrologer. You are proudly saying that to the world. Now, what do you really need to get into astro magic and start practicing? Some necessary ingredients. You need to have total, complete faith in what you are doing. There can't be any ounce of doubt. Oh, I don't know if this will work. Like, that 1% of skeptic or like inside of you where you're just like, what if this doesn't work? Don't do the spell, don't do the magic, don't do anything. Like, you need to have complete faith that what you are doing is going to work. And it's going to work even better than you expect it to. And you have to have that faith in yourself, in your tools, and in the planets, and anyone else that you ask to help you with this magic, that they are going to do their job. Because Spirit knows everything, honey. Spirit knows more than you know. So they will know if you have that little ounce of doubt that's like, I don't know if it's going to work. Bet it's not going to work. Okay? Especially if you're working with like Mars or Venus can get a little feisty too. If Venus doesn't want to work with you, Aphrodite is not with your bullshit. She's not going to help you out. So, really having that total faith in what you're doing and who you're working with. And another necessary ingredient that can be a little controversial for some people. So take this part with a grain of salt. You do you, I do me. We gonna live a happy life together. But it is recommended to do your work hidden from others and hidden from the sun as well. So magic. I mean, not magic. I mean, yes, magic. But I mean, at night, you should be doing your work privately. Not in the sense of like you can't have a coven, you can't do spells together, but like if you're going to do something together, it has to be within the group. It has to be within who's involved, within who wants to be involved, and it has to be done under the sun. Because just like the planets, if we are under the beams, we can sometimes be fried, we can sometimes not be able to work properly, sometimes just won't get the job done. So, helping yourself and, you know, doing things hidden, doing things a little privately, or at least within an exclusive group, and also doing things at night are going to help strengthen your magic and your talismans and whatever it is that you're doing so, so tremendously. So, again, that last part, you do you. If you want to do a sun spell under the sun, I mean, that makes sense. But ideally do it not under the sun, especially because as we get into electional astrology soon, the moon is very important. So you want to work with the moon. You want to be able to see and experience and be under the energy of the moon because she is so important in this work. And yeah, so what can you do with astro magic? We talked a little bit. I mentioned that the Pica-Trix talks about making talismans, making elixirs, and using magical imagery to imbue energy and get something done. You can also just do random spells. You can make spell jars. You can charge and embed an object with energy rather than create something. You can, I mean, those are really the basics. That's what I do. I'm sure there's a ton of other things that you can do with astro magic. I know you can work with like the planetary days. That to me is astro magic. Just working with planetary hours, planetary days, anything that involves you working with the planets and signs. That's magic, honey. That's magic. So have fun with it. I think you can be very much creative and really individual, and that's another thing why it might be best for you to keep things a little private or exclusive because we also don't want the doubts or the negative energy of other people to affect the magic we're doing because we may have total faith but then we confide in someone and they're like, I don't know, now that shit's tainted, now I gotta cleanse my shit, not tell you when or where or what I'm doing, and then it'll work. But yeah, you can really do whatever it is you want for to like actually do magic. I believe that you need to have the zodiac sign, some form of zodiac sign magic into it, or some sort of symbolism, planetary symbolism. You need to have the moon well placed or recognized, or just some way to, honor the moon. And you're good. If there's a way that you can do that with just colors, with just your clothes, a lot of people do like wearing clothes for planetary days or just highlighting different jewelry to highlight different planets, things of that sort, where you're just consciously and intentionally using items to represent a sign, house, or planet. You're doing astro magic, babes. You're a magician out here. You're a witch, okay? So, I recommend getting the Rulership book by Rexy Bills. I use that and reference it a lot. But once you really get into the idea and the practice of identifying different objects and their rulership and where they would fall under the signs houses for you, then you'll have a solid idea of how to use astro magic and be able to use it for anything and everything that you want. Um, and that's also another way to kind of practice and study too, is just look around your house. What sign would the laptop be? What sign would the candle be? What planet rules the screens on my window? What planet rules my scissors? Like, really try to figure out the mundane and identify what's just around your house, and then you'll be able to actually more confidently perform your magic. Alrighty. Any questions so far? I'm going a little quicker than I expected, but I also expected. I'm a fast talker. Any questions? Anything that's coming up? I don't even know where questions would be. It'd be like random. Is it like I've used spaces like maybe 2 times. So yeah, but I think we're good. Everybody looks good. Everybody looks good. They're your hobbies, okay? Everybody looks down to ooh, everybody mark you. Okay, hold up. Alrighty, so now getting into the electional part of Astro Magic. So, like I said before, you can't just be waking up, deciding to do, I mean, you could, but I feel like that's only if you're really well versed and you know what's going on, you know the energy of the day, and you wake up and you're like, you know what, today's a great day for this. Let's do it. Do it. Go right ahead. But if you're just starting out, you know nothing about astrology or magic, and you wake up and you're like, I'm gonna do a love spell. Let's hit the brakes real quick. Because electional astrology, if you don't know, is the act of choosing a chart in order to complete an action or start something. So, literally electing, choosing to do something and then doing it at that time, at that date, all that good stuff. So, with electional astrology, it's not necessarily about finding the best chart. It's more about finding the least worst. So, because of course we would love a beautiful chart with every planet dignified in house joy, trine, sextile, with a few beautiful squares and oppositions that just, push us forward and help us, and we live a beautiful life. But unfortunately, we live in this reality where that can't just happen. So you have to be able to identify, okay, what planet is related to what I want to do? What sign is related to what I want to do? How does this show up in my chart already? Because this is another important thing about electional astrology, is that you can't elect something that's not in your chart, which is like, it might be a harsh, something hard to hear. But like, if it's not in your chart, you can't just elect it. You can't just make it happen. Like, it's just not in the planet stars for you. But you can do your best to try to make what you want a reality, or even just dive deeper into your chart to figure it out. But that's another presentation. Electional astrology, you just have to figure out what planets, what signs, what houses are most impacted with this action, or just most influenced with this action, and then try to make those aspects and those planets, I mean, like, not aspects, like planet, sign, house, be emphasized and well placed so that you can have the best result. Election astrology gets really difficult when you start explaining it. Like, I'm getting confused. So, anybody has any questions, please like raise your hand or ask to speak or whatever it is. But yeah, so elections require that you have well placed and dignified planets that rule over what you're trying to do. So, for example, elections for a job interview, I would look to Mercury because that's literally one on one interaction, communicating who you are, trying to have a neutral enough stance where they'll take you and won't feel like you're a liability. And then you could also look to Jupiter because you want that luck, you want that, confirmation and that abundance to come in. But really look to Mercury for job interviews. And this is just an example. But you look to Mercury. Is Mercury in Gemini or Virgo? Would love for Mercury in Virgo. Or is it just in a place where it's not under the beams, or it's not in harsh aspects to Mars or Saturn? Is it an evening or morning star, which decan is supporting it. You have to really just, again, have a very strong understanding of astrology so that you can figure out how can I place this planet in the best position for what I want. Another thing with electional astrology, so well placed, dignified planets, no harsh aspects to malefics, or at least trying your best to limit them and have them maybe separating. You also want to compare your elected chart with the current chart or your chart to really make sure, okay, what planets are being highlighted, what houses, what aspects, what's going on, how is this action going to affect me personally? Because you could have an amazing election that's just so fucking dope, but then you look and it's all happening in your 12th and 6th house. I don't know. I don't know about all that. But you could also have like a not so good election, but then realize it's hitting your first, 10th, and second house. You're like, oh, yep, that's for me. Let's do this. So, really comparing the charts to whoever's chart or business chart or your chart will help a lot in making sure that it's one, the most auspicious for you, and two, that you are well prepared for what's about to go down. And then another thing that elections require is an eye for finding that least worst activity going on because it can be so easy to just look for a chart with no squares or look for a chart with no oppositions or look for a chart with Saturn and Mars are just chilling on their own. Like it's very easy to start to just find these basic things and then be like that's a good chart. No, you have to really look deeper and see what's going on to make sure that it's not a hot ass mess because Mars could be chilling by himself in Gemini, but it's still ruling over that Jupiter and Aries. So we got to see what's going on and keep track of it. So, an eye for detail, understanding of astrology, really knowing your shit. So, then the other part about electional astrology, which is just another layer of the cake when it comes to choosing, is that you need to have the moon in a very good position as well. Like I said earlier, the moon is very important. It's very needed and needs to be honored in order to have your election and what your magic, whatever it is that you're doing, work out well. So, similar to planets, don't want to have any harsh aspects, if any, to the malefics of Mars and Saturn. You don't want the moon to be under the beams or opposing the sun. I would say full moon energy, wait a little bit before or after. Um, and then same thing for the new moon. You would like it to be well dignified for the election. Let me repeat that again. You want the moon to be well dignified for the election. Yes, a moon in Taurus or a moon in Cancer would be great for any election, to be honest. But if you are looking to be this pioneer leader in your industry and are really trying to get shit going, like you're probably going to look for an Aries moon or maybe even for me, my 10th house is Aries. So wherever your 10th house is, you want to make a lasting impact. Have the moon be in your 10th house. And again, you can practice. Elect random shit with the moon in your 10th house and see how it goes versus the moon anywhere else. And see what works for you. But yeah, well dignified for the election. What do you want to accomplish and how can the moon help you do that? Not necessarily just looking for the moon in Taurus or the moon in Cancer and that's a wrap. Or not completely canceling out the moon in Capricorn and the moon in Scorpio, because sometimes those can be beneficial as well. Just not recommended. It depends on what you're doing. And then also not recommended to have the moon during the waxing phase, so after the full moon. And this is because with elections after the full moon, things are slower, they take longer, there's a bit more obstacles, and it's just a lot about release and a lot about letting go and not that much having to do with bringing in or absorbing. So doing elections or doing magic after the new moon but before the full moon is the most recommended because your magic will be quick, it'll be the most powerful, and it'll also just be a bit easier too. I find that elections after the full moon are just dreadful in my experience. But that's just me. I'm very impatient. I have a Saturn in Aries. Um, and yeah, those are really just like surface level basics. There's so many like electional astrology and astro magic, so many different things that you can go into, so many different rabbit holes to just dive in and learn anything and everything. And it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So, if you're someone that feels like you have a solid astrology knowledge, can get through, looking at charts for maybe hours or even the ephemera sometimes too, if you want to do it the traditional way. Um, and just figuring out, practicing, studying, trying things out. I highly recommend you get into astro magic and start figuring out how to work with the planets in your favor because it has been only the best thing I've ever done. But I'm very biased. I'm an astrologer. But some last minute tips for anyone that's starting astro magic or thinking about getting into it. Definitely start slow. Don't try to do some wild ass best person like CEO. How do I say this? That's not because there are some CEOs up in here. We own our we own our own businesses. I'm a CEO, but I mean like a CEO of like Walmart. Let's say you want to be the CEO of a huge ass corporation like Fortune 500 type shit. Definitely is possible. But if that's your first spell, honey, I have some bad news for you. So start slow, start small, try to see what works. Again, trial and error, practice. Another thing, follow your intuition. Your intuition will never lead you astray, will never fail you. If you have a strong understanding and a strong ear for your intuition, you trust that hoe. Okay, she is ride or die for you. Literally. If you don't listen to her, you might die. So trust your intuition, trust what's going on, and then trust divine timing as well. Because maybe we do a spell, we don't see rapid results, and then 5 years later, or like 5 months later, 5 weeks later, we're like, oh, wait, this is what I manifested. Hey. So trust divine timing, trust that everything will happen when it needs to happen, when it should happen, and yeah, have fun with it. Act like magic or witches, magic, astrologer, like this is fun. Or at least it should be fun. If it starts getting boring or like stressful, take a break, go like color something. I don't know. Just do something else. Because astrology, I feel, and learning in general should always be fun. Especially when you're doing fucking magic. Like shit. Bitch, we're doing magic. Like come on now. Out here in Hogwarts and shit. This is supposed to be fun. But yeah, so I did post. I just realized I never made Cazimi time a host. I don't even know if they're here, but anyways, I did post on Kazimi Con on like the thread. I posted a little quick resource. I don't know how to share that, like Jumbotron shit stuff. I don't know how this works with spaces. I'm sorry, y'all. But there is a quick little beginner resource that I made. Um, just different colors, herbs, and crystals to use for each of the traditional planets. And then I also attached the two links to download the Pica-Tricks for free. Um, so yeah, if you are ready to get into it, get into that shit and have fun. Let me know the results. Um, I love talk. I know you're supposed to hide it from others, but it's still fun to talk about it with people who believe in it. So yeah, if there are no questions or comments or anything, we're done. But I will still be here for a while just to take questions or anything. Oh, we have a request. Let's see what. Okay. Hi, Bonnie. How are you, Bonnie?
Hey, hi. Thanks for this presentation and thanks for letting me speak. I have a question. Can you speak a bit about so once you have an election and let's say you want to make a talisman, can you speak a bit more about that, like the materials? I know they, I guess, depend on the type of election, but once the moment comes, what do you do? Like, what are your experiences? Is this like a certain ritual that you do, or are there instructions, or can you do it like whatever you feel like? Can you speak a bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So the way that I have been taught, and also just the way that I do things, because I'm kind of wacky with my magic, is that I find the election, and then that is when I start doing the art or the talisman, or just start working and collecting resources and material. You can do some collecting before, obviously, just to have everything in one place. But I usually like to have the election just be the start of that process. Um, and I'm somebody that does like multiple elections at a time. So this will be like my first election, and then I'll make another election for actually charging it up with the magic and the energy that I want it to have. But you can also just kind of make the talisman and then charge it up. But I highly recommend having the election for when you're starting that process, just so that you're literally imbuing it with your energy, imbuing it with what's going on in the planets and in the world right now. And it's fucking potent. Um, and for resources, you can use. I've used like clay to like do some amulet talisman things. I also just draw an art and then just post that drawing or artwork in my house or keep it in my wallet or anything of that sort. You can also make spell jars. I like to do that a lot of the time. Elect a time to make the spell jar and then just burn a candle and have it charge up. Um, yeah, there's like a ton of different ways, and like I said, just have fun with it. See what works for you, what doesn't, what makes the talisman or the magic more potent than other times, and yeah, just like experimenting. But I would say anything, literally anything, could be the basics of it. Even if it's just like a little doodle on a napkin during the election, that could be your talisman for now. Any other question? I hope that answered your question, Bonnie, too. Thank you.
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Anybody else that wants to maybe even comment too? Let me know how good or bad I was. I love my haters. Let me stop. Okay. I'm assuming no one. Let me see. I don't know. If people are posting questions, I don't know where to look for that, to be honest. But I hope that everybody had a great time. I hope that everybody is super excited to get into magic and to really have fun with everything. And that, oh, here it is. Okay, came a little later, so sorry. Have you experimented with ceremonial access to alchemy? Oh, yes. So for me, I have a Sag moon. So I am just, and a Pisces midheaven, so I'm just very theatrical. Um, so I love doing ceremonies, rituals, doing the whole shebang, getting dressed up in the colors of the energy that I want to imbue, gathering the tools and crystals. I usually make a circle of the crystals. Luckily, I have enough of crystals where I can make a circle sometimes around me, and that's like my little protective layer while also absorbing the energy that I want. Um, but with ceremonies and rituals, there is, of course, like the skeleton that you can use, which is like, in witchcraft at least, it's casting a circle and saying a prayer, then doing the magic, and then charging it up, and then saying thank you, and then closing the circle. And you can definitely do things like that. But if you are immutable like me, then structure doesn't really work for you. So sometimes you'll, you know, start doing the magic and then you're like, wait, I need protection. do the protection, cast a circle real quick, then start doing things and really, just be fluid with it, have fun. And I think the more ceremonies or the more rituals that you have, the better you'll get at being able to figure out, okay, this planet likes this spirit likes this sign I would assume likes this a lot, and you really just start getting into things. But I enjoy a good ceremony. I'm pro ceremony all the time, every time. If I don't have my, you know, right attire, that right energy, and just feeling like I am Professor McGonagall, I don't want it. So, any other questions? Yes, of course. Oh yeah, sigils, glyphs. Highly recommend. I mean, again, I draw, so sometimes I do my own sigils, but if you're not an artiste or you want something that is just more, what's it called? Like it's gonna work, like it's for that, like the sun glyph, Venus glyph, things of that sort, go for it. 100%. I love using that as a simple way to imbue or charge something with energy, just literally carving the glyph on it or under it sometimes too. Oh, that just thank you for reminding me. I just got a new desk and I gotta put my sigils underneath. Um, but yeah, different things, so many different ways that you can use ceremonies, sigils, glyphs, and calling on different things. I always like to use different names too, Roman names, Greek names, Latin names, um, or the actual like planets and stuff. Like just using it all or using what works. Different languages too. I'm Puerto Rican, so sometimes I'll say it in Spanish too. And again, seeing what works for you. Anyone else? Same with the Pisces midheaven. Hey, mutable signs unite. I think the mutables low key are the best, but that's just me. Thank you. All right. Can you talk more about the planetary colors? Yes, thank you. Because I didn't want to mention. So in the resource, I know it kind of looks very, like this is the color for that, but it's not. It's not because I am just a Capricorn Mercury, so I'm like I can't have a repeat when there's no other repeats going on. So you can definitely use different colors for different things. For example, Mercury multicolored. You can use any of those colors. For Jupiter, you can definitely use green for that abundance, and also because of Sailor Jupiter and Sailor Moon. I don't know why they didn't make her purple, but Mars, I feel like with Venus and Mars, you can use pink and red interchangeably depending on how much power or softness you want in the magic. Um, and it also, like, I'm gay. So rainbows, colorful energy just going on, are just calling on the most that you can. Oftentimes that does go work against you if you call on like every planet at a time. That's a hot mess. But you can use colors interchangeably, and again, in magic, white is the universal color, so white can replace anything. I like to believe that black can too, but black is usually for protective things. Okay. And yeah, if there's any other questions, any other comments, any other concerns, I'd love to hear from you. Do not hesitate. But also, y'all are good. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Do I just like end it? Do I put some music until the next one? No. Ah, my boyfriend wants to smoke. Well, alrighty. Let's give it a little bit of time. Give it 10 more seconds. In case we got some slow typers. Okay. The mind perhaps touching over the ruler of your ninth house is the day of your ritual. Ooh, so with me, I am lucky enough to have a slow moving ruler of my ninth house. So I have a Pisces ninth house. Um, So Jupiter in Aries in my 10th house right now. So look, you've been doing some pretty dope magic there. But working with your ninth house ruler really helps you, at least for me. I'm speaking from my experience. Working with your ninth house ruler really helps you learn and just study better and understand things more and really have those new experiences with an open mind, open heart. So if you have Pisces or Sag, ninth house, working with Jupiter, just having that faith, understanding and accepting that you don't know what's going to come of this, but you're ready to try it and you are going to believe in the magic and you want this thing to happen, or really just dedicating yourself and finding the fun in it, because Pisces Jupiter energy is all, it's jovial. It's about having fun. So if you're not having fun, you got to abort mission. Compared to, let's say, a Mercury ruled ninth house, which is Gemini or Virgo. Those you would have to be more contemplative, really a bit more inward, and you have to kind of discuss, have dialogues, debates, discussions in order to understand and learn and deal with the things that you're doing. I feel like Mercurial ninth houses would definitely benefit from words and prayers and just saying something and not just working. But also Jupiters could have that energy as well because they are such a spiritually charged sign. Um, but yeah, that's how I like to interpret ninth house ruler when it comes to magic. It just helps you learn more, have an open heart and mind to the experience and what's possible, and then also just having faith in what you're doing. Yeah. Bonnie, you have another question.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing maybe some anecdotal experiences you had with talismans that you've made? Like, how have they worked in your favor, or did ever something backfire?
Oh, yes. Let me think real quick. I think nothing has like backfired. There's definitely been talismans that I could tell just like we're doing shit. Like I did something wrong. Um, and it's just because for me, I'm Cancer rising with a Sag moon conjunct Pluto, very sensitive to the energy. I'm also a reflector in human design. So I can feel like energy switching like in a second. So usually when I'm charging a talisman and it's really working and I have it with me, I can feel it working. I can feel the energy and I can feel that it's affecting me and affecting the people around me and what I'm doing. But there have been times where I'll have a talisman with me or have a charged object or spell jar with me, and I don't feel any different. I don't feel anything happening, especially because I like to be super specific with my spell jars and magic. Like, if I have I had a spell jar for self love. This is the one that I'm thinking of. For self love, just because, I go through depression, anxiety. So I would keep it with me during those days where I was like super low. And this was my second one. So the first one, when I would keep it with me, like literally, not to say this is like a cure to mental health, but like I felt like, I'm not depressed, I'm not anxious, like felt very confident. And with the second one that I made, when I would feel down and have it with me, I just still felt depressed and sad about myself and like um and it wasn't like anything that like, oh, I just started hating myself and depression got super bad because it didn't work, but it wasn't doing what I needed it to do. So those are instances for me. I'm low key a pussy. I don't want to do some crazy shit and then have it backfire and hit me or my people around me. Like I've never done anything. Well, let me not lie. I did it one time. I did like put a curse or like hex on someone. But like I'm not somebody that does that, especially with my Libra Mars. Like I'm just petty sometimes. So I try not to do any like bad magic or anything really big or powerful. Um, yeah, I hope that answers your question. But I think when it comes to like if something backfires or goes wrong, it just depends on what you were doing and how well it was actually intended and what you, yeah. But alrighty, I think that is all from what I see. This is all the questions. So again, thank y'all for coming, for listening. I appreciate y'all so much. I'm sure the other talk has already started. So y'all can go ahead and head on over there, but I'll still be here for another 10 minutes if anybody just wants to chat or ask questions.